Hello, greetings, salutations. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Oh my gosh, guys, thank you so much for being so patient with me. Yesterday was a lot more chaotic than I was used to. Oh my gosh, it was just thunderstorm and then it would pause and then thunderstorm and then it would pause. It gave me so much false hope. But luckily the sacrifices to the weather gods have blessed us with a kind of rainy, like more drizzly day. Um, but we're much better weather today. It is more of a comfy, cozy sweater weather sort of vibe instead of like the heavens are like pouring down on us and the sky is falling. So much better than it was yesterday. So the connection is good. I did kind of like some practice tests before, so shouldn't be any drop in that because that's what I was like super scared of yesterday, where it would just be on and off and on and off. And I know for a lot of you guys, that is no fun during your relaxing period. So we're continuing with the chill, and I also wanted to add a little game for today just to say thank you for all of your patience. Now, I think it was from that one stream where we kind of talked about relationships and kind of discussing that, and I kind of on and off check my inboxes, like not really, but sometimes you guys hit me up with some really awesome questions, so I try and get to them as much as I can. But other times it's kind of more in-depth questions that I feel um, like I can't just answer over Instagram, like DMs. So I always make sure to like reach out to the person and say, hey, is it okay if we talk about this like on a stream? So then I can properly answer your question. And usually I get like a thumbs up or like, oh, that's cool, that sounds good. So these are kind of like a buildup of all of the questions that I've gotten from you guys like over the past like couple weeks or so. That you guys are always like super sweet to reach out to me. And if I didn't get to your questions, don't worry. We'll most likely do another one of these streams if you guys do like them. Just in case, I did open my stories on Instagram if you guys do want to submit your questions for a future stream like this. But I thought it would be super fun to kind of, what's super funny is like I do have a D20 like with me because I used to play D&D. I in my heart of hearts I feel really sad that I retired my characters, but I'm not rolling them on my live camera because I have been known to drop dice like to the other side of the room, like legendarily. I don't think I've gone through one game without losing my dice or someone else's dice, unfortunately. So, what we're going to be using today is a dice simulator, a D20 simulator. I do have basically prompted 20 questions that you guys have asked me. And what we're going to do is basically roll the dice at random at different parts of the stream. And I'll probably put a timer or keep an eye on the clock to make sure that we also get some painting done here on the side. But yeah, I'll probably in intervals of like 5 minutes, depending how the conversation is going. Um, like we'll sporadically play the game. If you guys have your own questions, I'll always take you guys in the chat over priority. But um, yeah, basically, we're gonna roll a dice, and whatever number we land on, we'll basically go here on the list, and I'll answer them, and uh, like paint this here beach bunny that you guys voted on. Actually, this one's going to be kind of I from the last stream. I finished the outline And this is going to be kind of like the mock practice one. So this one we're just going to have fun coloring and trying out different colors and swatching them out. So yeah, I hope it's going to be relaxing time. We'll talk about some ooey gooey feeling stuff today, which is always super fun with you guys. It's going to be more than likely that we'll hit doubles at some point. So if I already basically, let's say I answer number 9 and then I roll a number 9 again, I'll go down on the list. So if I hit 9 and I haven't answered 10, or basically we'll just go down from the number of whatever unanswered number, if that makes sense. So that'll be for doubles until we possibly answer all the questions, or you guys come up with new ones, or then we just continue on our hours. So yeah, thank you guys so much for submitting your questions. So I guess we'll start off. Well, we still have 5 more minutes. So until it kind of officially lands on 2 o'clock, then I can put like my first rolled dice. Um, I'll do my first roll. I think every like maybe 10 minutes. I don't know. I kind of don't want to mess up with the chill. But I have been known to like talk a lot. So I'm sure like the hour's gonna fly by fast. But yeah, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. It's Thursday over here. I swore I woke up and I swore it was Friday, which my phone was readily available to tell me that it wasn't. So that was a good 5 minutes of my morning where I was super excited because Fridays are like my non-dinner days, so like where I don't have to cook. So I was super excited for like we usually get like the same takeout, but I get so excited to like not be stuck in the kitchen for a couple hours. I'm not gonna lie. Especially I've been making some like pretty good steak recipes lately. So I was just kind of like, ooh, I could go for a burger. I'm still a carnivore, but at least I guess like my go-to, at least as of late, has been let me see. Oh, actually they have like a Popeyes here, which I was like super excited to try. But I know it's so bad for you. But Fridays are just like the days like I just kind of break the diet. Oh, just in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just cleaning my palette here because I'm more than likely gonna like dip into these again, but this area I know I'm gonna like fill up. I already sprayed down um my watercolor palette in case you guys are new. I normally use my jelly gouache palette. I kind of spritz everything with water, so then we're all good to go. Um, I'll probably more than likely because we're using like a new lamp now, so probably give it a little spritz. So yeah, right at 2, I'll go for the first question. You guys asked some spicy questions, I'm telling you. Don't get me wrong, I really like the spicy questions. They're good. They really hit home. I was just like, geez, how some of them I was just kind of like I already started like the wheels started turning, like being like, how am I gonna answer this if we get to it? But I know we'll find a way. That's why I always like coming here on stream because we always end up I always think it's gonna go a certain way and then it goes a completely different direction. So no surprise we're probably gonna start with pink because I've been in a really pink mood lately. I don't know why. Like I think because like I'm setting up like my side of the game room and it's all pastel. So I'm just having like a pastel kick everywhere. And then I definitely want to do between like pastel pink or like a mint um green. So we're probably gonna mix like these two colors and see what happens because I haven't done that yet. So we shall see. I definitely wanted to lay down, so I'm probably gonna lay down some swatch here. Oh, and then I got a really cute yellow the other day from I want to say this bad boy, mixing in with a lighter one. So we're gonna experiment with that today too and see which one. Basically, Today's just going to be like experiment day, see what colors go where, since I'll be answering you guys' questions. And also, like, I picked the fuzziest watercolor paper for today, I think because uh, this was like my test paper. So if there's any breakage, it's okay. Today's a day of science. Alrighty, we got one more minute. I think I'll lay down. Gonna put this bad boy on the side. I'm really excited to see how this green. Probably lay down like a little bit of white just to make it a little bit more tame. Because now it's like kind of like a sea foamy green. Oh yeah, and don't panic. Anytime like your white gets like that, I used to be like that. I used to always want to like immediately want to like wash like away the white, but by the end of it, it won't affect it too much. Except when you go from cool to warm colors, just be careful of that because a lot of times it can go murky. But for the most part, you can always just get a damp paper towel and should excuse it a little bit. Ooh, kind of like that, minty. Oh, I didn't even have to really use blue. Probably I'll try and see. Alrighty, so we hit 2. So we're at 2 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and roll that first dice. Let me just mix in this blue because I'm so curious. I mean, honestly, it would make a pretty good shade color next to it, so probably mixing in blue. Yeah, definitely, guys, if, I definitely recommend giving a good read about, the color wheel as far as shades and lighting go because in my younger painting venture, I always thought it's like, yes, adding like gray or other shades would totally make, shading work. But nay, it is not true. But we can talk about that another day. Let's get to our first question. Alrighty, so we're just gonna roll this bad boy. Alrighty, so number 6 is our first one. So we're just gonna go pop up to number. Oh my gosh, we're really get. Wow, that's quite the. Oh boy, this one's like a heavy one. Like for, but if it's what the people want, that's what the people want. So the first question is, what do you do if your partner is anti-therapy? Okay, so I remember this question. So the person basically like I shortened all of the messages that I did get. Um, and oh, okay, I was wondering. I'm like, can I zoom on this thing? Okay, there we go. Alrighty, so the question is, what do you do if your partner is anti-therapy? I think this stemmed from, if I remember the discussion clearly, it was because from my last stream I mentioned that I was a behavioral therapist before moving to Japan, and basically that I talk about my feelings a lot because I go to therapy and I'm a big advocate for going to therapy. And I think this person noticed I said that my husband, he's not a big therapy person. So basically, the gist of the question was, well, like, what do you do? Like, what if you as a person are like, hey, I want to go to therapy, but your partner's like, no, I don't want to go. And to that I say, basically, my advice is that you can't be responsible for someone else's mental health. By the end of it, you should not be discouraged to go yourself because who you're responsible for is yourself. Just because my partner, like, and he was always like this, it wasn't something that just like popped out of the blue. So that's important. You should always have a partner who's supportive of what's healthy for you. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to participate or that it's something necessarily for them. I was very much open to my husband about that. Like, hey, um, this is my field, but on top of that, a big part of what helps me with my stress and my own stuff is actually going to a therapist. I've always been super open about, us going together if that's something that he would ever be interested, but it's not really something that, like he's open to, and that's perfectly fine because by the end of it, um like I'm responsible for me and he's but at the same time, like this is what I always like to say, just because your partner, isn't, let's say, like participating or something like that, it doesn't mean that they're discouraging you from going. There's a very big difference. Like it's kind of, especially with something with mental health and um like by the end of it he can have his own views and his personal preference with things, but by the end of it he's never been like, you know, like discouraging anytime I had to go or if I had certain like not homework. I jokingly call them homework assignments, but there's certain things that I have to work through in therapy, and him as my support system, we have to do together, if that makes sense. So, as partners, like we have different views, but we're there for each other and we support each other through that thing, if that makes sense. So, even though we have different views on it, it doesn't make it any less supportive. So it's kind of like he respects the way that I deal with things, I respect the way that he does, and we kind of meet in the middle and like support each other, if that makes sense. So, this is definitely a discussion that you're supposed to kind of talk together and work out because um, either way, whatever your choice, because the your partner, whether they choose to go or they don't, they have a right to it because by the end of it, it's their own health. So that's just something that you need to talk about, you know, especially before you get into a relationship with that person because by the end of it, there's going to be a lot of challenges in life and there's going to be a lot of friction between you guys if it's not something that you see um, like being compatible with or being okay with if you guys have opposing views and you're not okay with it, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's just something to like talk about and kind of work on together because I can definitely see a scenario and it's happened in my own profession and in others where it is a big friction point and I I'm pretty honest when it comes to how I feel and how it helps me, but at the end of it, it shouldn't be something that's forced or that, you take away from another person. Like, I have seen talks before where it's like, no, you're perfectly fine. You shouldn't go. And, um, that's something that I think is very individual by the end of it, and that no matter what kind of support system you have, um, you should never rely on your partner specifically for your mental health because by the end of it, everyone is human, So I think having the best support that whatever that means to you, um, I'm I think that's like the best plan in life because by the end of it, you should never replace. And I think this is something that the person even mentioned that basically their partner was saying that well they don't need therapy because they're in a happy relationship, right? And the thing is that may very well be true. However, people are fallible and people and you know what, even therapists are fallible. Like there's just a certain point where you know finding what works for you does take basically trial and error, especially when it comes to mental health. But I think it is very dangerous to rely on one person for that, because by the end of it, then, you're using your relationship for other means other than just being a relationship. Like that, your partner should not be your end all be all. The perfect person. Yeah, sure, you guys can support each other, but there's going to be days where it's a back and forth. And if that other person is supposed to be like kind of a, um, and that's why even in therapy, there shouldn't be a kind of, how can I put it? There's like a professional distance and it's not intimate. That's why it's not a good idea to date your therapist, because there is a mental health professional that is there that isn't clouded by their love for you, if that makes sense. So, yeah, that's my um, advice. Either way, even if you're a person who is into therapy or it's not, it can very well work if it's something like where you guys have opposing views, but just never let that get in the way of like what you want in your life, or from seeking help if that's what you want to do. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Alrighty, so I'll probably let me see. I'll roll the dice one more time, and then we can get to swatching a little bit more on this. Because I want to get some pinks, possibly some deeper pinks. So we'll see. Because I'm kind of going for a direction, but we'll see. Alrighty, let's roll the dice one more time, and then I'll give it like a 5-minute break, and then we can roll it once more. But yeah, definitely let me know if I'm off base with certain things, because I would never want to like alienate anybody or like from their experience. It's just more of like my personal experience. But if you guys definitely have any like opposing things, just let me know. Oh, 19. Okay. Da-da-dum. 1919. You guys see that? Trying. Oh my. Let me see. Okay. I think it's like a little cut off. Let's see. Okay. Ah. See, this is like half the fun is just me figuring out how to technology. Okay, let's see. There we go. I'm gonna censor this bad boy. Okay, 19. How do I tell my girlfriend that I love her, but I want to hang out with the boys? Oh yeah, I remember this one too. I just really like the way that they highlighted boys with an I, because I can picture that like so perfectly. Okay, so how do I tell my girlfriend that I love her, but I want to hang out with the boys? Yes, it is very important. All right, ladies, gentlemen, it is very important to have your friendship time. And a lot of times, and I know, especially during the honeymoon phase, it is very tempting to, and honestly, I'm guilty of this. I'm very guilty that because what your partner is possibly ringing in their head when you say, I'm going to hang out with the boys, and there's some sort of insecurity there, it's most likely like, oh my gosh, they're going to cheat on me. Like that's if that is an issue in your relationship. And I'm here to say, if that is something in your relationship, it is completely normal and it is okay. Now, the answer is not on either direction, like either person who's going through that. Don't feel like you have to give in, that you should toss blame to the other person. It is perfectly normal and healthy for your partner to want to hang out with their friends without you. They're not excluding you. It is not a personal thing. It is, and I know that's hard to hear because I have been guilty of this. I am still even married. I am guilty for feeling this way, and the only answer that I have found that helps a lot is to establish some sort of ground rules where you have access to your partner. Like you guys, I know it sounds silly, but I promise it will save you so much heartache and so much, because a lot of the times this pops up because either person or both people want to act tough and want to like be like, no, it doesn't bother me, or oh, you're acting crazy, or oh no, no, this is coming from a perfectly normal place of feeling insecure on either end, and this is an opportunity for both people to take care of each other. And this is like where I stress that it is normal to feel these things, and no one is crazy. No one is should be shifting blame on anybody, because by the end of it, it is a like in a lot of ways your partner in hasn't done anything like to deserve this insecurity. It is just a natural part of what you are feeling, and the person, what they can do is that they are trusting of the person, but they just want to be taken care of a lot of the time for giving you that trust. And you should set up some ground rules. Now, what you should not do is freak out and blow up their phone and text them and hound them or punish them for just doing a very, you know, um, like hanging out with their friends, because you should support them. That is something that is healthy for your partner to hang out with their friends. But I know in a lot of times, especially early on, it's hard to kind of, I know, like, because I'm like looking at like myself, and I was very much, especially so much of my relationship was long distance, that you kind of had to adapt um, with the relationship itself and learn coping mechanisms, because it's anxiety. It's not knowing. And that's where it comes in, that you don't know what your partner is up to, and you're building trust, but at the same time, what is your partner doing with that information and with that trust that you're giving? And it's not about the scenario. If this will hopefully help somebody who's in this situation, it is normal for you to feel like that, but also to respect that that other person is feeling like that, and then handle both feelings of wanting to go out and then feeling insecure about it, and taking care of each other during that time. So set boundaries. This is a long winded way of just telling you guys to, hey, when you go, yes, have fun, but can you send me a text? Can you give me a call? I and be honest. Like, I think the worst thing you can do is not be honest about it, and be like, hey, no, it's perfectly fine. Yes. And just tell your expectations. If it doesn't work for you, if it's something that, hey, you know what, I can't give you a call, I can't give you a text. So try and meet in the middle of uh like something that works for you guys. Um and sometimes it's even a trade-off. Like sometimes you can even be like, well, you going out with your friends and things like that, I just worry about you. And so you compromise on something that makes you feel a little better. And if your partner respects you and respects your feelings, um, a lot of the times it's not that big of a deal to just send a text or phone call. But if that's not possible, then it's just something that you guys just have to work out something that's manageable for both of you guys. So it's either, yeah, I'm going to spend a weekend with the boys, but you know what? I'll meet you up for a movie or something like that in a couple of days. Like for me and my husband, like I told him, like for me, it was just, I am a giant worrier, and that's the way you have to frame it. Don't blame it on the person who is going out and living their life and doing things, because you want to support that. As a partner, wouldn't you want the same thing to be done to you when you hang out with your friends, when you do things that make you happy? be supportive and just let them know your worries, your anxiety. Hey, you know, it's something with me. I, I'm going through this. I feel this way, and I'd really appreciate it if, you know, if while I'm feeling this way, if you could somehow kind of ease my worries a little bit in some way by giving me a call, giving me a text, just something that'll let me know that everything's okay and then I'll talk to you soon. Whether that's a text in a day, in a two, something that makes you feel supported during that moment. Because I can understand it's an anxious time. Um, but don't start slinging accusations because this is where the tension comes. And when it's like, no, I should be hanging out with my boys, and you're just trying to restrain my feelings and blah, blah, blah. No, 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 don't do that. I've seen it so many times where when you start kind of like blaming the person, because by the end of it, sometimes like those feelings are coming out of fear of losing you. And I know it sounds silly because, oh, how am I going to be um like swooped away, after like let's say one dinner with the guys or like one hangout, one roast with the dudes. But, it's just something that I want to say it's just human nature. Like really, it's extremely normal and it's just something that sometimes, especially in the beginning, you're just learning about the person. So you're testing out trust and how they handle it. But I promise if you set some sort of boundary or rule of, hey, I'm not going to be near my phone, or hey, I'll make it up to you somehow, or like just consideration. Like you will see with time it will get better, but what you don't want to do is completely shut the door on any socialization. Do not feed into the insecurity by buckling all of your friendships. That is not what I'm saying either. Like I have seen couples before where they kind of think like, "Oh, yeah, sure, like, they're just being sweet and, they just want to hang out with me. And, oh, okay, I'll just cancel this and I'll cancel that. And, by the end of it, then, where's your friendships? Where's like the people that you had even within your, group, like before you guys even started dating? That's not healthy either, So all I'm saying is that, a lot of people picture the scenario of like, oh, the crazy girlfriend that like keeps on calling and, like, he's just hanging out with like the boys that she shouldn't be, you know, like blowing up his phone like that. But a lot of the times it's a cry for help. It's kind of like, hey, I'm feeling super insecure right now and I need a life jacket right now and I just feel really insecure at this moment. And of course, I completely understand that there are scenarios where it's kind of taken to the nth degree and it is um, exhausting. Like that's like the first thing that I can think of where it's just like, man, how many times do I have to prove, quote unquote, I'm not cheating, I'm not doing anything bad. But the point isn't that like you've done anything bad or you have to prove anything. It's the insecurity part. Hyper focus on that part. Ask your partner not what you did wrong, but what you can do in that moment to make them feel secure. Is it to tell them that you love them, to tell them that, I can't wait to see you again? Yes, I'm hanging out with the guys right now, but, you know, I'll make it up to you. And, I just need this right now. And express your needs too, because that's important. By the end of it, like, and I think that's what it stems from also. Anytime I've talked to my friends, that there's this idea that it's like, oh, you chose them over me and blah blah blah. Have those conversations because a lot of the times that's where it comes to. When your partner is kind of fighting you against something, it's sometimes a form of miscommunication. So, but yeah, that's when I got asked that question, I was like, oh no, I used to, I like yeah. Especially in long distance, it happens so frequently when you just you make up. I'm telling you, when you don't have answers and when there's a lack of communication, like the stories you can come up with, it's pretty hilarious. Like I think I've I think I've pictured like my husband like out and about and like escaping to Las Vegas or like some crazy. I watch too many sitcoms and like movies for my own good. And honestly, it kind of shows from like all of the elaborate. You know what? I blame Hallmark movies. You know what? I'll boil down this number 19 to all the Hallmark movies that are out there that the minute a woman goes on vacation or a guy goes on vacation, they find the love of their life like in an airport or at a bakery. And then it makes all of us paranoid to go out anyway. But no, for real. For real though, guys, don't be paranoid about your partners wanting to hang out with their friends. Please be supportive. Please be understanding. By the end of it, behavior stems from a place of our needs and our wants. And be patient with one another and listen. Listen. It goes a long way. That's some ASMR advice. Listen. Because a lot of the times those behaviors they stem from not that the person is crazy, not that the person is, it's that like they're asking for something, and a lot of times it's just from a place of insecurity, and it's not your responsibility. By the end of it, it's true that person is responsible for their own um feelings, but what you can do is kind of connect the dots so then you know they don't fly off the handle when that happens. And I remember when the person like messaged me that, they said this whole elaborate scenario of like, oh, this and that, and don't shame your partner for these feelings. No matter what gender, it happens. So yeah, that's my 2 points. My elaborate answer is don't shame your partner for feeling these things because they're perfectly normal, for wanting to hang out with their friends and for also feeling insecure. And then number two is take care of each other while you're going through it and ask, like, and listen really what kind of, not like security things, but like ask what you can do for each other to kind of make it an easier time. So, yeah, that's my answer. So, yeah, I'm just gonna quiet the mic for the next couple minutes and then we'll roll the dice in a little bit, but yeah. So then that way, if you guys have any talking points or anything, I never want to ignore the chat as we go. But yeah, I'll lay down a couple more colors and then we can get back to rolling the dice in a little bit. Alrighty, so before I add my second layer, because that's always like the part that I like have the hardest time with, so I'll just answer. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Ooh, that scared me. I'm so sorry if that scared you guys. Alrighty, so we are going to roll the dice once more before adding that. So actually, I'm gonna let it like dry a little bit. So this is like the perfect timing because for me, basically I always tear the paper because I have no patience. So this is perfect timing. Actually, this exercise is like perfect for me because at least it gives me time to like not tear my paper by actually like waiting the appropriate time. So okay, let's roll for the next one. Okay, number two. Number dos. Okay, so how do you make up after a fight in a long distance relationship? Oh, that was good. Um, so uh for me and my husband, like we have two different styles of like when we're upset. Um, like and that's something that honestly we didn't really that's like the snag I want to say when it comes to long distance relationships is like the communication sometimes is so sporadic in it that like um you don't you're relying on basically talking to the person over the phone or video chat, that the frequency of like actually talking is, especially in the military. I don't know if all my military spouses and bays out there like understand this feeling also, and civilians too, I'm sure, especially if your partner works very long hours, and sometimes you can't talk every day. But like it becomes so much a bigger deal when you guys do have a fight or you don't. That for me, um, I had to be super understand, like learn quickly that like our styles of how um we kind of like group back. I'm a talker, and as you can see, and my husband is not. He's kind of more of a, okay, I feel upset, so please leave me alone while I gather my thoughts. And for me, that's agony. Like, I am a person that I'm like, no, I want to fix it right now. Please, please, let's talk this through, blah, blah, blah. I don't like being in a fight. But he's the type of person that he needs that space. So, like, long story short, I would say, like, find out how your partner, um, like, and you will, you'll find out quickly because it is, um, very, like in a relationship, especially if you are communicating in the way that, um, like long distances usually do, there is going to be a lot of difficulty a lot of the times in communication styles. So, which is perfectly fine. It's just like being honest. Please be honest. Like, especially about like the way that like you feel, and like I know I'm very touchy-feely when it comes to this stuff, and I know a lot of people aren't. But like when you find out about yourself, like then you can express that better to your partner. So basically how we made up after a fight is that, like, let's say we had a disagreement on something or something happened, um like we respected what the other person wanted first and what they needed at that moment, but then also like reassuring them that you're there for them when they're ready. And if you're like me, then that meant being patient and keeping like not being glued to your phone, which like I did. I am guilty of that. I was very much like, when's he gonna like text back? And oh my gosh, like, are we going to? And trusting that they're processing things okay, and that you need there it is important to give space to your partner when they ask for it, and to trust that everything's okay, the world isn't going to end. And be willing and open. And on the other hand, like with him, I knew it was like this too, that when he was ready to talk about it, that he was always very open to then like talk about it after he had that space. So it's not just giving that space, but also like um, kind of coming back once they've had their space, and kind of talking about what happened, and kind of seeing how you guys are going to move forward, because definitely just don't like think, oh yeah, no, nothing happened. Like, no, no, no. Like when you guys do have disagreements, and honestly, now that we are living together, it is so much easier because, like, you're physically there, and so a lot more of the making up in it of itself. Like I love, like, let's say, like doing things. So for me, now that we live together, it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, he needs a space, but I'll make him like a cup of tea, or just leave it at the, it's a lot less anxiety provoking, because I guess when you live together with somebody, it's kind of um like it doesn't feel like countries or states away, like. And I completely understand in a long distance relationship how that can feel, but by the end of it, it's just as important to give your partner that space and that understanding, and then kind of regrouping. um and yeah, for me, like that's how, uh like anytime we did get in a disagreement or something like that, it was kind of, yeah, we kind of just squashed it pretty fast. Like I think that's like my favorite thing about it. It was like, yeah, it was like we had our moments, but like it was pretty quickly resolved, because by the end of it, like the faster you like kind of understand like your styles of things, then you can um like kind of respect your partners, that they're different, they're a little different, but by the end of it, you still love and care for each other. So like you need to trust that process. So yeah, that's what I say. Like when you fight and things like that, and please, like, even if you're upset with your partner, and or you're frustrated, or you're going through things, don't force them into talking about something if they're not ready. Um, like you can definitely let them know like where you're coming from and where you're at, but they'll know how to reach out to you, and it's not going to be the end of the world. And if they truly do care about you, and like they've had, even if it's early on, they'll respect you enough to let you know what's going on, you know. Just like trust in that, and don't feel uh, like you have to like pounce at like the idea of having to fix things right away. And I know I've made that error, because that's the way that I work. But at the end of it, it's what's important is that after a fight, you guys don't cause any more friction than there actually was. And you know what? It's just going to be another thing that you guys are going to have to resolve together, you know, by the end of it, if that makes sense. We can go for one more. But yeah, if anything just doesn't make sense, just like let me know. Sometimes I think that like things make sense to me because it's happened to me. But if you guys have different experiences or anything like that, I'm more than happy. Honestly, anything that leads to like happy, healthy relationships, I'm more than um like happy to hear, just because like I could think one way and be completely wrong. So I'm more than happy to. Honestly, like I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh my gosh, she looks like a little kiwi. Like I imagine her like in pink for whatever reason, but I'm like, you know what? This is like a lovely shade of kind of lime. So we'll try and go for that, and I am. I'm kind of digging it. So yeah. Alrighty, we'll go for one more, and then I have no idea what the bathing suit's gonna be, so I'm stalling uh, until that. So that was two. Did I highlight two? Yeah. Alrighty, one more. Number six. Oh, we already did that, so we'll follow the rules and go to number seven. How to communicate into. That's so funny. I thought we talked about that. Um, that was a pretty good one. How to communicate your insecurities or what to do if your partner has insecurities. So I want to say, um, I guess this is why even within relationships, like I don't know, for me, mine really snuck up on me. I didn't have, like, it was so funny because I don't know if it's because I was very cocky and I thought going into the relationship, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm the best person ever and nothing's wrong with me. Like I'm gonna be the best girlfriend ever and I'm not gonna have any jealousy problems. I'm just gonna be super cool and I'm just not gonna cause any problems. So anything that isn't I'm insecure about, I'm just gonna deal with it. And that is the worst thing that you could possibly do. Don't do that. Just because literally you're suffering for no reason. Like I'll just put it point blank. You are not a burden to your partner if you have insecurities because, surprise, surprise, your partner has insecurities also. So, by the end of it, think of it this way, you are robbing your partner of the opportunity to um, motivate you to be better, to take care of you. And a lot of people feel like kind of icky at the idea of being taken care of. But the thing is that, like, in and of itself, when you're in a relationship, inevitably that's what you're doing with each other. You guys are like fulfilling some sort of need within each other. And expressing your insecurities isn't a bad thing because by the end of it, if the person is going to just turn around and be like, wow, you're weird, and oh, how could you think of that? Ugh, like that's so gross. Why are you with that person? Like, I could not imagine if, like, I want to paint a scenario for you of imagine the love of your life, is like I know it's kind of dramatic, but if they like fall in a lake or they fall to something and they're asking for your help, um and you have a good foot to stand on to go and help them, why would you not? And I'm not talking about like problems of like depression or like those are things that are very personal, but I'm talking about things that are like within your power to at least address and have the conversation. And I'm not saying like, oh yes, completely subvert uh like your own needs or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all because your partner's insecurity is not your problem, if that makes sense. So the responsibility of their insecurities is all their own. However, you are there to support them as they go through these things because the more you get to know that person, and and that's the funny thing. I was naive to this as well. I believed in my brain. I was like, yes, once we become official, the insecurities will stop. Once we hit our 4 month anniversary, I don't know why 4 months, but I don't know, will be official. Like, I won't have these insecurities. Surprise, surprise. New ones pop up. Ones that you don't even know that you had. Because as you get older, your needs change, your dynamic changes, and no matter what, the consistency has to be that, like, you guys are on the same page because your partner cannot take care of you if they have no idea what's going on. And a lot of the times, it's okay to take that time for yourself and figure that out. Um, and be clear, be like, hey, you know what? Something funky's kind of going on. I'm not sure what it is, but I have to have some self-reflection. And by the end of it, people have gotten hurt before, especially if, um, like for me and my family, like it was riddled with divorce and aunts that like were in their 40s. I was the youngest in my family. So like every other cousin or aunt was like just this horror story of like don't trust men because they're going to leave you heartbroken and steal all your money, and be a strong independent woman, not like me that I'm like literally 30 years old and like feeling like your life is over. And I was like, what? I don't want to be that. I'm terrified of being in a relationship. I don't want to do this. And so it left me with a lot of fear. Most like, yeah, I had a lot of fear that I didn't even know I had until I fell in love. And I want to say that kind of comes with the territory. When you fall in love, when you get in a relationship, there's things that you don't expect to feel, and I think that's one of the most beautiful and horrifying things. And you'd be very surprised that once you start having those conversations, even with other people, I think because a lot of the times there's a hyperfixation on the dating insecurities and then but not overall relationship ones, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of, because it is, I think starting a relationship, it's very exciting. It's, kind of scandalous and what's going to happen. It's like full of all these possibilities. And there's this kind of weird um stigma, I guess you can say, of once you're in a relationship, that's it. The game's over. You won, quote unquote, won. You have your partner, and that's not true, because by the end of it, sure, you can have your partner, but like you still have to maintain it. You still have to do things and work on yourself and not lose yourself and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's basically if you have insecurities, which I'm sure you do because everybody has them. Um, being patient with yourself, communicating to your partner, and most of all, being clear that insecurities are your responsibility and your responsibility also, like solely your responsibility, but you can definitely help your partner um, in not blaming them for your insecurity and basically being honest with that and kind of coming up with a game plan together to kind of be like, okay, how are we going to navigate this? How can we help each other? Because more than likely, your partner has insecurities also that you guys just talk about and work on together. Um, yeah. So I'll probably I almost see it's an hour. What I'm gonna do is just lift the mic for like 10 more minutes, maybe, possibly. Just because we have to still work on our little bunny here just for a little bit. So, but yeah, if you guys have um questions or concerns so far, just let me know. I'm just gonna lift up my mic a little bit just because uh I'm just gonna fill in some color, figure out what we're gonna do, and then I'll roll the dice for the next one. But yeah, if I'm totally off base with any of like my comments and stuff, like just give me a shout out and be like, no, absolutely not. Because by the end of it, we're here for a discussion. I'm always super happy to learn from you guys, and by all means, do not take my word for law. These are just my experiences from what I've learned in my relationship, and by the end of it, I want to help out anyone who's possibly going through the same thing. But I love discussion also, so just let me know. Um, but I'm just gonna lift the mic a little bit just to fill in some colors here because now I'm kind of looking at. See, I had an idea and then It slipped. Hmm. I'm like thinking what the color of the bathing suit should be. Like, I'm sensing like kiwi colors. I may go for like a pink. Well, if anything, I'll fill in uh, while the 10 minutes pass, and then we can roll the dice again. Sorry, I got a request. It's like, please, I need you to roll the dice again. Sorry. I think as they're going to bed soon, so we shall roll. Okay. Hey, I'm here for you guys' entertainment. So anything that gets you guys in a good mood and relaxed and in a good state of mind, I am here for it. Alrighty, so 13, 13. Is it normal to ask for space in a relationship? How do you do that if you live together? Um, like I typed these out and I kind of forgot like what I typed out, so that made me laugh. Yes, it is extremely normal. Actually, it becomes probably more important to ask for space when you need it because by the end of it, it is a need. I know there is a temptation because I go through it too to think that it's personal. That the person like the idea of my husband going to me and be like, "Hey, I need space." Like I take that as a personal attack, like being like, "Oh my gosh, he doesn't love me anymore and he doesn't want me. He thinks I'm annoying, blah blah blah." But it's not. It's think about it in this way. Like it's kind of um it has nothing to do with you and it has more to do with like that person just has a need and you are in fact taking care of them. Like that's the way that like my therapist talked to me about. And honestly, even if the person even says to your face like, "Hey, I really need some space, you're annoying me," by the end of it you shouldn't demonize them for it. I know it really seems like a super personal attack because by the end of it your partner should not like you don't want to hear that from somebody you love. And but there's so many scenarios at play when that happens because a lot of the times it's that they're going through something. It can honestly mean a handful of things and it has like 9 out of 10 times has nothing to do with you. And even if it does, like let's say on the 1% chance like that um the small perchance that hey that person genuinely just feels like being alone and the present, like anybody's presence is just like nails on a chalkboard. Please respect that. And that a lot of the times you can take that as an opportunity of taking care of your partner and not as a anthem of like, oh my gosh, this person hates me and they don't want anything to do with me. And that's it. Like, we're breaking up. It has nothing to do with that. A lot of the times it's situational, it's stress, it's just voice, like at least when you leave them and stuff. Um, for me, what helped because it is even though my husband and I were pretty much connected at the hip a lot of the times, but like when he does need his space, like I just I like to hear and be reassured because um, like that's just my background. Um, I like to hear him say, like, hey, I love you. I just need space. Like, that's it. Like, for me, then I feel like like, my insecurities aren't, like, reeling away, if that makes sense. And you can. You have every right as a person to not defend like yourself. I feel like if you do need your space, that's something that should be respected. But for me and in my relationship, I that is one of like my insecurities where I get like not separation anxiety because that sounds very dramatic, especially that like we were long distance for a really long time. But I just like to at least like with like my husband, like I'm very adamant about him being like, "Hey, you know, like I just need my space a little bit. I'm just going to like play video games, blah blah blah." And there's days where I need my space too, especially when it comes to like my art and stuff. Like I just get these like creative blocks a lot of the times, and there should be nothing wrong with asking for that. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, that they're a bad person. Do not take it personal. And if it's something that like you kind of see the frequency of it, like it's like wow, like they're asking for their space a lot, and just don't jump to the conclusion that it's like, oh my gosh, they're gonna break up with me, or oh my gosh, like that's it, they hate me. No, it's very normal, it's very healthy. And how we how we ask for space when you live together, it's pretty easy. Like it's basically you um like I know in a household when you have a lot of people, it's kind of difficult, but you can actually even like for me when I kind of want my space, I put on my headphones and I go to like even sometimes like just a separate part of the house, or sometimes I just go to the backyard. I know I did a lot of that back in the States. We had kind of this little nook, and that was like my little reading nook. And especially that we do have puppies, there just came a certain point where I was like, okay, I need like an hour. Or even for me, I'm a big advocate of bubble baths. Like for me, when I, yeah, trust me, one bubble bath can go a really long way in my book. And honestly, that's how I disconnect. But you have to really find kind of a recipe that like works for you, and it's not always going to work every single time. Like I know when we first got married, like I was really big into journaling and like writing down my thoughts and things like that. And I still kind of am, but I don't find that as relaxing as I used to. I don't know if it's because I've gotten more into traditional art as of late, so I just interpret it as work, I guess. That changes too, but the important thing is to ask for it when you need it, and when your partner asks for it, to not interpret it as something negative, just a normal part of it. And even if you do live together, even if you are married, even if you are dating, like it's not a sign of the end times. And it is possible, like just because you guys live in the same house. And sometimes you can even do that throughout your day by running an errand. Oh, going to a cafe, that's another one. I guess I kind of forgot because of the pandemic, um, that we can go to public places, but if that's not readily available, even sometimes just tuning into something that you like and reconnecting with yourself, because sometimes that's just what it is. Like the person is just asking for a little bit of time to just reconnect with themselves, and you'll see it'll go a long way, because a lot of times, when they get that alone time, that gives them a chance to miss you a little bit. And I know it sounds funny because like when you live together, you think, oh my gosh, like we're always around each other. But you do create these little rituals with each other that, like, when that doesn't happen all the time, your partner is inevitably going to kind of miss it a little bit. So, just let it happen. If you need it, let that happen too, and don't be afraid to voice it, because I know in my book I was definitely afraid of that. I was afraid I was going to like either offend my partner, or like like make them think that I didn't want them, and that's not true. I know that's something that I need to work on personally, because I'm a bit of a giver, if that makes sense, like where I want everyone to be happy all the time, and I kind of neglect my own needs, and that's not good for anybody, because by the end of it, I think when it comes to partnerships. It should be equal, it should be like a give and take sort of thing. And I know that's not plausible in a lot of scenarios because life happens and there's going to be times where your partner is going to need you more or you need your partner more, but that there's always this sense of appreciation and consideration. I think that's the big one. So as long as you consider your partner's feelings and yours and kind of meet in the middle, you'll you'll find something. But yeah. So I'm just gonna lift up the mic and then we can roll another one in a couple minutes. Unless somebody had something to say, possibly. I always want to keep an eye on the chat just in case. Okay, guys, I shall answer another. Da, da, da. Okay, 18. I believe this is gonna be our last one because I can hear my little puppy chows like kind of rustling about. So, 18, right? Is that? Oh man. Okay, 18. Ooh. 18. For a long distance, how do you even go on a date or be romantic? I'm confused. I like this. I just like the way it was phrased. It's like I'm so confused. How do the long distance? Yeah, that's something I had to figure out. It's very unique, I guess. To tell you the truth, other than maybe possibly like one other friend of mine, and I wouldn't even like that relationship ended super bad. So I always interrogated my friend, like what happened, what like how did this happen, and like when we would kind of like talk about our dating lives and stuff like and I I remember there was a point where, like, in like my relationship, um, especially that, and it's funny because I'm a talker, very talkative, but my husband isn't. So at the time we were dating, it was kind of like we had to figure something out to do besides talking because of our differences. And I know that sounds super funny, but what we basically ended up doing, and maybe this will help, is that we would watch movies at the same time. So, oh my gosh, we would just marathon, like whole series or, um, yeah, that's basically like mainly what we did. And also what I liked was is that we would always plan, when we would see each other. I think that was one of like the sweeter things, like when you're in a long distance relationship, it's like planning on when you're going to see the other person. Um, but I remember like trying to do kind of like online games or oh, especially with my awful laptop, like doing card games or something, but that just didn't work. Like you just have to keep trying stuff with like the anticipation, and I think that's basically what always um, yeah, and literally what's funny is uh like some of our sweeter moments, I guess you can say, is that we would just be on video chat and just doing our own thing. And being perfectly fine, like not having to talk, not but like he would literally be video gaming. We would be on video chat and I would be drawing, reading, and sometimes we just look up from the phone and look at each other and say, "Hey, so how's it going?" And blah blah blah. And oh yeah, and it's funny because it kind of carried out up until even now that we live with each other. It's kind of like he plays his video games, I do my art, and we're in the same space, but you don't have to talk all the time. And I think um that's kind of a sweet thing, like you kind of find your own style of dating, especially when you kind of have a little bit of a handicap of not being able to see each other. And I think what I really liked is that when we weren't doing something, we were planning to do something, but it was always with the sense of like, for sure, like it was never just like, oh, yeah, yeah, like in a couple months or like and I think that's what kept our relationship alive a lot of the times. Like it was talking about future things, but like with a set purpose and like a feasible date and like, oh, it's for sure gonna happen. And it builds a lot of security. So, yeah, um, and I know it's kind of tough, especially now with the pandemic, but even if you guys can't see each other, like let's say for the next couple of months, um, like set a date or set a timeline and then what you guys would do, in that timeline, like places you'll see, people you'll visit, like stuff like that. And I think it makes it like a lot sweeter, I guess, like where it's like when it does happen, because then it's like, oh my gosh, do you remember what, like just a couple of weeks ago we talked about this thing and look, we're here doing it now. And like, I don't know, that those are the kind of sweet moments, but also being okay that like you guys don't have to talk and like just chilling out with each other over video chat, or if that's now more your style, just making the conversations, like when you do have them, like meaningful. And I just like the way that that was. It's like I'm confused, how do you even go on a date? And you'd be surprised, like honestly, like you can watch a movie together, like play games together. um I know a lot of it is just uh, waiting. I know it sounds like kind of or like really cute things we would do is like I would send letters or packages. You can surprise each other. Sometimes with like little gifts. I know once like he sent me flowers. Yeah, like there's stuff like that. Talking about your day, like especially when, you're having a tough time or something like that. Like surprising each other when, like, on a phone call, or even like meeting family members or something like that, if it's something like where you guys are like to that point. But I know it's not the same like on the phone, or um yeah, I think that's basically it. Like, you know, acknowledging that you guys have that limitation, but making it to where you make it work. Because, especially when you're in a military kind of setting, um, long distance isn't the most far away thought, you know, like even when you're married and even when you've been with each other, uh, you got to get comfortable with the fact that long distance is potentially going to happen pretty frequently. So find your normal in that, whatever that means. So a date for you can mean talking to somebody, it can mean doing something together. Um, but yeah, find out what that is, and make it work. Because you'd be surprised. Like, you would be very surprised. Like, and it's true. Like, once you kind of, how can I put it? You find very sweet, important moments in times like that. Um, that I feel sometimes people look over when, uh, like, you do have somebody close. You take a lot of things for granted, and you really get to test a relationship. I'll tell you that. Like, you have to iron out what's important pretty fast. So going on a date, uh, like, you have to find what that means to you. And I don't know, that's how we did it. Like, watching movies, being on video chat, falling asleep on the phone, until our phone batteries died, which was pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good um way to like end the stream for today. On a good note, I'm gonna like finish this puppy up. Um, yeah, just fill in some of the shades and stuff, and then I could eventually do the for real coloring and stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. And thank you guys for submitting such really funny questions. I always love talking on the streams. And thank you guys so much for listening, for joining. And I hope you guys are all having a wonderful week. I'll be updating you guys with some new videos on YouTube. I have a tutorial coming out of my painting process. So just keep tabs on that. And oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to like give my Patreon shout out. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got so excited for the stream. So a quick shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for your support and for your kindness, especially while we're still kind of like figuring out the whole streaming process and everything like that. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye.